I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. Last week's podcast started with some Jaxie talk. I wanted to...
Gosh.
No, listen, please hear me out. I realised, like an utter fleshy windsock, that I actually never gave away the sort of punchline to the entire point of me talking. In true Smith & Sniff style, didn't really explain what on earth it was going to be about. And there was a loose car-based ending to this.
Okay.
So I was just wanted to say that whilst I was having my procedure, the two, the doctor and the nurse involved, asked me what I did for a job, trying to make small chat, Rich, whilst, hosing my insides out or whatever they do. So one of them went, cars, okay. What do you think about electric cars? I said, I like a lot of electric cars. I reviewed quite a few of them. Pause. He continued to rummage around and I was grimacing. And then he went, what do you think of the BMW iX3? And I went... Meanwhile, I think he's got about 2 meters of hose inside me. And I'm actually watching in HD on a huge TV screen him exploring my own...
They let you see?
I am watching my own time tunnel. Yeah, I really am.
Dear God.
Yeah, I know. I'm basically urban exploring my own colon.
Yeah.
So I kind of go, all right, it's okay. But I mean, it's not exactly BMW's best moment. And I miss a lot of the other I cars that died for that. He's like, okay. And then the other guy chimed in, who I think was Korean. He looked Korean to me and said, what do you think of Korean car manufacturers? I went, they're brilliant. And he goes, you driven many of the electric Kias and Hyundais? I went, yeah, I have actually. I started talking about it, and then just for 30 seconds, I forgot what was going on here. And then,
what if you believe this chap to be of Korean heritage, and he asked you about Korean cars, and you said, "No, I think they're all crap, mate." Do you think he'd have gone, right? Deploy the spikes.
Oh, don't. No, employ the wider hose for that one.
Oh, God.
No, so I went, no, they're great. And then we started to talk about it. I was like, yeah, well, the Ioniq 5 is still one of my favourite electric cars. I think it's just a wonderful piece of design. It's going, oh, yeah, and the EV9, have you driven the EV9? I went, yeah, I have driven the EV9. Then he said to the other guy, who the main doctor who was manning the pumps, said, oh, yeah, if your wife would like the EV9. It's like a XC90 kind of size. So they started chatting. And then they asked me what the name of my channel was about 5 minutes later. And I told them. And then I wish I hadn't told them because I was like, giving away so much information whilst there's arse rummaging. And then,
yes.
And then at the end, after what went on for quite a long time and was quite uncomfortable, but ultimately, had to be done, he was like, yeah, well, thanks for that. I'm going to subscribe. I'll subscribe to your channel. So now I think I have a subscriber to my YouTube channel who's definitely seen me inside and out.
So seen up your bum.
Yes. So there's nothing left now. There's just nothing left. So I wanted to just explain that. There was some car chat. I know I drove there in a 911 T hybrid GTS, but there was other car chat. The other thing I wanted to say is I spent a bit of time in the last 36 hours in Malvern, in Worcestershire, and
Malvern
at the Morgan Car Company, because obviously it's one of those car companies where you have to say the Morgan Car Company in Malvern.
Yes. Hang on, is it not the Morgan Motor Company?
Oh, is it? The MMC? It might be.
Yeah.
Oh, it might be.
Is it? It's certainly, it's, if you're proper old school Essex or Dagenham, it's the Folds Motor Company.
It's FMC, isn't it? Or FOMOCO.
If you ring their head office,
Folds.
in the UK, that's still how they answer it. Hello, Ford Motor Company.
Do they?
Well, they certainly used to. I mean, I have to admit, I haven't rung them for a long time, but they certainly used to. Yeah. The Ford Motors Company.
Well,
so you were at Morgan Motor Company.
I was at Morgan, and it was a delightful day. And the problem because Morgan is a chipper, eccentric cottage industry, which I very much appreciate. I think we both do. First things first, as soon as I arrived in the car park and I saw a whole line of them, because they hire them out for people to blast around for a day or a week, and they get a lot of foreign visitors coming and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just felt myself almost talking in 60s person's voice, because it felt like Morgan is almost a trip back in time.
Yeah.
Car cosplay-esque. But I was there for to look at the new flagship model, which I don't think has been unveiled by the time you listen to this podcast, so I probably can't talk.
No, when is that being announced?
I think it's the 11th of March.
Okay,
I think
so that's it. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, that's a week tomorrow then. So
Yeah. So all I can say is that it replaces the Plus 6. And the Plus 6 I took out for a quick spin, because it was one of the last cars that I reviewed on Fifth Gear on TV. And I remember being amazingly impressed with it.
Yeah.
Quite shocked.
What they have done, it reminds me, they've released a sort of official spy photos, if you like, of the new flagship in a camo wrap.
Yes.
Which I feel works for a new Audi, but with a Morgan, it's just a Morgan. I mean, I guess the details are what are going to make it different. Did you saw it uncamouflaged?
And I filmed with it, and I went into the factory and actually touched one that was being made, the second full production car. So I've actually touched it and lowered its body onto its bottom.
Oh, crikey.
So, yeah, I felt quite proud. But as you say, when the cloth was over it, when we went into the room to do a first look kind of film with it with the designer, even if I wasn't at Morgan, I just went into a room with a car with a cloak over its head, you'd go, that's a Morgan. So it's unmistakably a Morgan in silhouette.
Yeah.
However, it's definitely the most young. Yeah, I'd say it's really good. I'm not going to wax too lyrical about it, but I didn't think I was a Morgan guy. And the Plus 6, driving the Plus 6 changed my opinion of the way they drive and the way they make you feel. This is the 4-seater ones. Three-wheeled Morgans are different because they're almost like an insect. They're not really a car. Like, in a good way, I like them. They're just a strange little zoo animal. But the one I saw, which is called the Super Spokes, which of course is very un-Morgan-like, saying Spoets. It really does look cool. But I did find myself being a bit 60s. And also, it was immediately reminded me that the first ever live gig we did, Smith & Sniff live gig, was off of Morgan.
Yes, it was.
And they actually said to me, the PR chaps, they said, would you like to come back? We'd love you to do another one. And we glossed over the fact that the Queen died half an hour before we went on stage, because that was unforeseen stress and massive piece of news. But yeah, and I also said to them, which they, bless them, they did laugh off. I said, the thing is the Queen died half an hour before we did our first gig here. And when I came to do the launch of the Super 3, the three-wheeler, it was my birthday. And on my birthday, unfortunately, Russia invaded Ukraine. So there's two big events which have happened the last two major times I've been to Morgan. And this time, something else happened, but I won't tell you about that now. Don't worry, it was really good news, but it was basically
okay.
I had an offer accepted on a house. So I've potentially bought a house at Morgan.
Well, that's good. But then, were you not also there when Henry Kelly died?
Oh, I forgot. Yes, I think it was that day.
Which we've had quite a lot of messages about that because it was slightly spooky. Henry Kelly died last Wednesday, I think, and only the previous Monday when our podcast came out, at the end we talked about Going for Gold, which of course was the show he hosted from mid 80s to mid 90s. So people are asking if I have some kind of tiger's paw or something that puts a curse on celebrities. But no, it was an unfortunate coincidence. Quite sad about Henry Kelly because he seemed like a decent sort. And I saw various people on social media coming out and sharing memories of encounters with him. And he sounded like a thoroughly decent bloke. So may he rest in peace.
It's weird, isn't it? Don't you think it's weird? Because he's not exactly in the news much. And you and I being quite quirky idiots talking about the most random things on this podcast, and of all the people that we talk about, Henry Kelly, and yet I hope this isn't this is not a trend that we're going to set. I really hope.
No. I was quite surprised to find out Henry Kelly was, I think, 78.
Yes,
when he died. I thought he'd have been older because he's just one of those people. I don't think you get them anymore, but I suppose people who go on TV and they kind of, in the 70s and 80s, they were required to dress smartly and have nicely parted hair, and it immediately aged people. So it felt like he was already sort of 50 when he was first on telly.
I want to know how
doing
old he
like
actually
Game
was
for
then,
a Laugh.
because I thought he was middle-aged probably in the 80s.
Yeah, well, that's it. But if you think back, so he started doing Game for a Laugh in, I think, 1983, something like that. And that was, I suppose, when he first became sort of nationally famous. So that was 42 years ago. So he was in his late 30s, but he definitely didn't seem in his late 30s at that point because nobody did.
No.
It's odd, isn't it? Sort of brings me to saying what I was going to say about sort of not being a Morgan person and then suddenly thinking that perhaps you are. I think it's something that sort of comes on you.
I actually think I have become it. The Morgan person's crept up and jumped onto my shoulders because I'm unashamedly interested in this new Morgan, and I was unashamedly amazed and impressed by the way the Plus 6 drove. Bear in mind, it's got that straight 6 BMW engine with the turbos, and it's rapid.
Yes.
Like too rapid, almost to the point where I want Morgan to enter a drift championship but just like with a wicker basket on the back and do one of those wall taps and things like that, but with a fairly standard looking Morgan, because I just think it'd be amazing.
Am I right in thinking that actually a lot of the team there now are quite young?
Yes. It's shifted, the demographic.
I mean, as in like the people, because I think all the people that we met when we were there were pretty youthful, certainly seemed it, and had lots of enthusiasm and excitement about everything, and it felt quite vibrant as a result. And so I wouldn't, it feels like the kind of thing that you'd hope they'd just go, actually, yeah, screw it, we'll do that. Why not? We'll have like a Nomex made that looks like old-fashioned brown overalls.
There's a lot of that
and a
there.
Tweed cap glued to the top of a crash helmet. And then we'll mess with people's heads by doing absolutely ridiculous tip it in backwards kind of drifting.
That's what I mean. Imagine if Morgan was a drift competitive drift wildcard, because I think it's fully capable of it. And in fact, hang on, WTF? Why don't we enter TIFF into a drift contest in an outgoing Morgan Plus 6, or even the new one with the same engine in? We just get him to wear obviously the Carpaccio of leather, but also with a cap of some sort on, a flying cap.
Yes.
And
flying helmets. Yes.
Yeah. And I think they would be such fun. I think it is more youthful. They've actually got a really hard job because they've got such a dedicated following of a certain age of person, and you don't want to interrupt that. But yet the brand has to move on, and they want to be a little bit more with it, as old people say. So thus trying to appeal to people probably around about our age, and but without bastardizing tradition too much and without upsetting people. So it's hard. It's really hard. I don't envy them, but I was really impressed.
It is. I was trying to think who else. I was talking about some other company where they don't want to annoy their hardcore fan base, which is a bit older, but they need to sort of draw in younger people. It's probably the case for a lot of car companies, because let's be honest, certainly in old school Europe, it's the older people who've got more of the money to buy nice toys.
Exactly.
So it's all well and good going, hey, hello, kids. What's up? Or should I say, what's up? Yeah, fresh. Love your drip. And they're not going to be able to afford to buy your 70 grand car. So it's sort of irrelevant. All you can do, though, is try and seed in their brain the fact that one day they'll want one, which is half the battle, I suppose. But I don't know. The sort of suddenly things creeping up on you. It's also why I used to look at MGBs and go, ugh, Jesus, the worst kind of ear, hair, badenoidal nonsense going on there. I'm not interested. And now I see an MGB, a really tiny one, and go, yeah, okay. MGB GT, particularly. I saw one the other day that someone had done a really nice, like debumpered and then widened the arches and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was making quite a rude noise. And I just thought, yeah, kind of down with that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Maybe it's with age you get a bit more accepting, perhaps.
Maybe.
And just go, look, that's
not
not my bag, but it's someone's bag, and that person should be happy with that.
I don't know if it's age or just hanging around with you, but I have the same with air-cooled Beetles, where once I used to despise them, and now I kind of go, okay, I hear they're quite well engineered. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be me. Yeah, maybe
I think that's probably you, but anyway. Yeah. I'll tell you another car. This is not related to age or experience or anything else, but something I've just been thinking about a bit in the last week for no real reason is the Nissan 350Z.
Yes.
I think it's because Evo, the new copy of Evo, which you should go out and buy immediately because it's an excellent magazine, has a retrospective drive of the 350Z by John Barker.
Yeah.
And John makes the point that perhaps that car was a little bit underrated or overlooked in its day, and that driving one now that's fresh and sorted as it should be, it's really nice. And I thought, yes, they were really nice, weren't they? Why don't I have a 350Z? And then the moment passed. But
my videographer
shortly after
Phil
that,
had one.
Did he?
Yeah, he sold his S2000 Honda and got one.
Oh.
Because although he loved the Honda, in Wales, cars like to rust. Anyone who's owned an S2000 knows that they're a bit dissolvey.
Are they?
Yeah, they are, because they're not very well rust protected. And they're also extremely light and thin.
Yeah.
Coupled with the fact that I think Wales gets above about 10 degrees Celsius 60 days of the year, and so it's a bit skitty.
Yeah, there's a word in Welsh, is there not, for the one day a year when it's above 16 degrees?
I don't know what it is though. No. But he decided to get something more grown up and went for a 350Z, and he said he loved the Z. Was interesting and charismatic and definitely well made, and that substantial gear shift that I remember so well.
Charismatic is a good word. My memory of driving them is that they weren't super fast.
No.
But nonetheless, they had a strangely sort of muscle car-like feel to them.
Yes, they did.
Probably because they felt sort of like the controls are quite heavy. Correct.
They're quite a physical car to drive, but in a way that's enjoyable. Yeah. I love them. And I love that launch orange.
No, I've just suddenly
orange.
gone, oh... Yeah, in that orange one, they did a lovely blue as well. I was just like, on those raised wheels, some of my favourite alloys of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would that be a thing? Should I have it? I don't know.
That's when Nissan were obsessed with little squares on things.
Yes.
With their design. Yeah. And I'm digging that.
Yeah.
Massively.
Yeah. It was a British guy who designed the 350Z, wasn't it? I can't remember his name, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I do fancy one now. we should have done a Harry Metcalf and both bought one before we waxed
bought
lyrical
6
about
and then
them.
said, they're brilliant. Everyone should get one. Get one now. In fact, I might be able to help you there.
Yeah.
It's one thing did remind me of the possible demographic of the 350Z driver that just came across my desk. I don't work in a fucking 70s office building, but it's something I just spotted online, a reference to it that caused me to look it up. This apparently is sort of one of these, internet famous stories that on a bodybuilding forum in the US a few years ago, there was a spectacular argument between two contributors, one of whom plainly didn't understand how days of the week work. Basically, the argument started with if you're training, you should do 1 day on, 1 day off. And this guy started saying, so you can work out 4 times a week. And someone went, well, no, you can't, because that you'd have to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, and then Tuesday, Thursday. And this guy got really angry going, no, you could do Sunday and then Sunday, Tuesday. You've double counted Sunday. No, I haven't. There's 7 days in a week. And it got really messy. And at one point, I'll put a link in the Patreon to this. I kept it somewhere, I think. It's extraordinary. A man, I'm not saying that bodybuilding makes you thick, but this man doesn't understand how days of the week work. And at one point, as if to win the argument with a flourish, he says to the person he's arguing with, if you're right about this, you can have my 350Z.
What?
And I sort of went, oh, of course he's got a 350Z. I mean, it's an upper body workout just driving one. Of course he's got a 350Z.
We used to say this about, and I've said it before on the podcast, in the Max Power days, we used to say this again about Mark IV Supra drivers.
Oh, yeah.
They were always weight trainers. They were always triangular men. They were always the same. That you could see. Nowadays, you've got other cliches. There's a lot of cliches for probably Golf R people and Audi RS3 people. But now, then it was Mark IV Supra guys, and they really were bodybuilding types. This is pre-vaping, of course, so there'd be no vaping going on. But yes, certain type of clothing, and there'd always be big power talk, because it sure as hell wouldn't be standard boost. And, it was. We used to have a bit of a laugh in the office of the Supra guy. It was always quite good. And do you remember the 300 ZX?
Yes.
You see, they're not even talked about anymore. I mean, of course, the spiritual father of the 350Z, but they've seemed to.
Yeah, I've never driven one of those, but this has just reminded me of once years ago, I was in a branch of Wagamama in London, and one of those triangular men came and sat at the next seat, and opposite him, his exceedingly blonde wife or girlfriend, she looked exactly the way. Yes, but quite sort of pneumatic and very blonde and very made up. And he made a bit of a fuss with the waiting staff about whatever he was ordering. He insisted they make it extra hot. Although I don't know, this was an option on the menu. He went, I want it hot. No, I want it hot. I want it really hot. I want you to make it as hot as you can. Okay. I don't care what it costs, he said. I remember this distinctly. I don't care what it costs. I want you to make it as hot as you can. I just thought, why are you doing this, you triangular fuck? But
this is like a human cost. I don't care what cost.
Yes, exactly. I don't care the mental toll this will take on your kitchen staff. I want it hot. And not like hot as in spicy, I presume. I don't think he wanted it so it was molten lava in a bowl. But he's one of those people. There's a certain sort of man. They often wear tracky bottoms, and this is probably related. That they carry a big bunch of keys and they wear tracky bottoms. You can't really keep the bunch of keys in the tracky bottoms. It'll make them fall down.
Yeah.
So they're great key people. They're just key guys, so they're always putting this wad of keys down. I don't like leaving my car keys out on a table in a pub or a restaurant. I think you're asking to get them nicked, but also it just looks like you're showing off somehow.
Agree.
And this guy put his big wad of keys on the table with his phone, and I noticed that he had a Vauxhall key.
Okay.
And later, he moved his keys, and there was a key tag on it, and it had Calibra on it.
No way.
And I thought, this checks out. The triangular man has got a Calibra.
Oh.
And I assume if he wants his Wagamama made with Scotch bonnet chilies off menu, then he's probably breathed on his Calibra as well. Oh, this was about 20 years ago when Calibras were still around.
That red top will be cooking hot.
I want it hot. I don't care what it costs. I want it hot. But the head gasket's popped off again, Steve. Don't care.
Yeah, make it add boost. Just add boost.
More
now.
boost. Triangular keyman. There's a little
brilliant
subset of society that without which our nation would have many fewer gyms.
Yeah. Now, while I was in Malvern, did you also know that the names of the hills surrounding Malvern are also names of Morgans, or have been?
Oh.
So the outgoing +6 is called the Pinnacle, and that's the name of one of the hills that surround the Malvern place. Malvern.
Oh.
Yes.
So,
and the Midsummer. The Midsummer is a hill.
The Midsummer, that's what I was going to say, that beautiful Pininfarina collab.
Yeah.
I read in the bump that Midsummer is a hill, isn't it, nearby?
It is a hill. It was quite a sunny day when we went there, and I saw it. And I actually also saw about 4 Midsummers in production, and they're halfway through. I think they think their production run of them, and there's 50 of them being made in the world. So that's like a madcap Art Deco-esque beautiful item, isn't it? Like several hundred grand.
Does it look mega in the person?
It does, actually. The woodwork in it around the cabin is absolutely astonishing. I mean, it's like no other. It's like no other new car. I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to do a group test and you throw a Morgan in, it's almost irrelevant because you just go, well, that's the thing. I mean, dynamically, you'll find this out when you eventually drive a Morgan. That's the other thing, by the way. Morgan said to me, can you please ask Richard to book a Morgan? We'll want to let him drive a Morgan. I've gone, okay. So you ought to.
My colleagues at Evo, in fact, brought a Morgan along on their car of the year last year, I think. And it didn't disgrace itself.
No. The new aluminium construction and that BM drivetrain is quite something. You got to try it. You got to try it, man. You got to try it. So yeah, I know,
guys.
There were some other things that I noticed in the factory, but I think I can't say them out loud because they're quite funny. I don't mean like it's not like disgraceful build quality or anything like that. It's just things that the workers do to one another on like Post-its and stuff. And I thought it was
right.
And there's a certain type of fabric that they use that's extremely water resistant. But when they told me where it was sourced from, it made me laugh so hard. I was like, I really want to say this on the podcast, but I don't think I can.
Is it incontinence pants?
I'm not saying. But it's great fabric, and it just goes to show that you can source these things from all over. So, but
it's just the thing. Don't be open-minded when it comes to sourcing this stuff. This is the pleasantly rubberized heater controls in the original Ford Focus were inspired by a wetsuit because one of the design team was really into windsurfing or something, and he suddenly went, this actually feels quite nice. I wonder if we could replicate it on our controls.
Right.
And they did.
Well, that surely almost became industry standard then at that point, because lots of other manufacturers started doing rubberized controls, didn't they?
From memory, I think in the end they're not actually made from wetsuit like neoprene or anything. It's a soft feel paint,
it's like a coating, which is
pretty commonplace these days. But at the time, it was pretty innovative. So, what my favourite Morgan story, which is sort of says a lot about their unique approach to things, is that they decided to use more CAD CAM, and they were designing a new car but going to use some of the existing jigs and stuff that they already use. And they found that one of the rear wheel arch jigs was not true. And when they tried to make the car with the perfect curve from the computer, it didn't work. So rather than change the jig, which had been working perfectly for decades, they just got the computer to replicate the flaws in the real thing.
Oh, that's quite charming.
Which I just go, well, that's perfect, isn't it? I love that. That's great. And it does the job perfectly well. So why would you change it?
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why I'm scared of becoming a Morgan guy is because I'm worried that I'll become a Richard Hammond pretender. And I don't. Well, because Richard's liked Morgans for a while, hasn't he? He's owned a number of Morgans, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I worry that I'm younger than Hammond. I don't know how much younger I am than him, and definitely not as wealthy. But I'm wondering if I'm going to become like a rubbish B-side Hammond.
Not. Clarkson and May used to sometimes describe Hammond's sort of late era Top Gear Grand Tour dress sense as Toad of Toad Hall.
Yes.
Because he started wearing a lot of three-piece suits and things.
Yes.
Just a lot more tweed, which is very, very sort of fits with the Morgan. I mean, if you were wearing a sort of really technical anorak in a Morgan, it's not quite the right vibe, I suppose.
A technical anorak. No, and one thing I will do, and I will put it on our Instagram, on Smith and Stiff's Instagram. I made a quick video in the car park of Morgan because there's some interesting cars. And as I was filming this, an extremely old money gentleman pulled up in what is not only an algal Saab, but also a used to be red and now is definitely matte pink Saab. And it was so old money, I had to capture it. So I have captured that, including some details of the algae. I will put that on there ready for this podcast to go live. There's also in Malvern, my last thing I was going to say is there's a Skoda dealership in Malvern and it's called Startin. Startin. Like, you started?
You starting?
Yeah, like, do you remember when people used to say you starting? I don't know if people do it anymore.
Yeah, because at school, you definitely just go, oh yeah, like so Simon Hurst was just winding him up, so Dave just started on him.
Yeah, you started.
It doesn't entirely make, well, I suppose it does make sense because you're starting a fight, aren't you? But maybe that's where it comes from.
But the thing is, the person that's saying you starting relentlessly is starting the fight. They're starting. By constantly, aggressively saying, are you starting at you?
I think that they're trying to pass the blame a bit, aren't they?
Yeah. It is buck passing. It's definitely buck passing. You started. No, I'm not, because you are, by very nature of the fact that you're saying you started a lot and you're getting closer to my face.
I suppose it would kind of count as is it a rhetorical question? Not really. It is. It's just antagonistic for whatever reason. Yeah. Anyway, I was in downtown Bath last week, and there's a big underground car park in the Southgate Centre that people might know. And they've recently installed those quite simple but clever lights that detect when a space is empty. And they light up green, and they go red when a space is full. So you can see at a glance as you drive along down the end of the aisles when there's a space.
I like that.
And when I went into Tyne, it was half term and it was very busy and the car park was very full. And I got wrong-footed because they haven't quite calibrated these lights correctly, because every so often down certain aisles there's a wide walkway, but the lights read that as a space still, even though you're not allowed to park there. So that's a bit irritating.
I know what that's for. That's for narrow K-car people.
Well, I mean, yes, we'll get onto K-cars in a bit, but the other thing that I started thinking, you know, when you're having to prowl a car park because you're looking for people walking back to their cars and looking for those little clues that a space might be coming free. And there were sort of two other cars on the floor that I was on, just prowling, doing the slow drive-by.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, I like these lights in a way, but on the other hand, it feels like cheating because I quite like the skill of spotting someone walking and then trying to sort of second guess where they're heading to.
I agree.
And then manoeuvring towards them before someone else can. Not aggressive, not trying to piss people off, but just using your experience and observation skills to get a space before somebody else. It's quite a game, and the lights slightly somehow take away. I mean, you can still do the game, but the lights somehow seem to take away from it, because you could just sort of cruise around till you see a green light, basically.
Is it wrong of me to sometimes I overshoot a car that's got people in it talking and maybe rummaging around with stuff, and I'm trying to second guess if they're about to leave or they're about to get out of the car and go shopping or whatever. So I overshoot them, and then my instinct kicks in, and I'll select a reverse, and I will do quite a fast reverse in the middle of the road without looking behind me. I rely on the mirrors only. Which in a multi-story car park, like a dingy car park, it's quite a commitment, because suddenly, 50 miles an hour feels really quick.
Do you know one of the most unnerving things you could do in a car is reversing slowly whilst just looking dead ahead? It's like unnerving for you, but unnerving for onlookers as well.
I've done that on a fifth gear shoot when we were on an airfield, a massive airfield. And me and Jason Plato decided to do VMAX reversing when we were waiting for the cameras to set up. The runway was so wide and desolate that we just got up to full speed really quickly, and then we're level with one another, basically just like trying to chat through the window. And it was it was the most relaxing VMAX experience I've ever had. It was wonderful.
What kind of speed were the speedos working in reverse?
No, I don't think they were. It felt like I was doing about 40, but I don't think it was. I think it was probably about 20, 25.
What cars were these?
One of us was in a really small car, like a Hyundai i10, and one of us was in a transit van at the time, like a custom.
Okay, of course.
Yeah, and then I think we might have even swapped cars at some point just to get a bit more joy out of the situation. It was good. Really, things that you do as a professional.
I feel like I sound a bit strange saying that car park light systems are cheating, but since I'm already sounding strange, as something else I was going to tell you about. The other day, I was driving near where I live, and I came up behind a flatbed with what looked like a banger on the back of it, but it could have been a rallycross car, but it had no glass. I couldn't figure it out.
It looked like it'd seen some action, nevertheless.
Seen some action, but it was covered in it looked fairly professional sponsors, but kind of local business level, not like IBM or something. Because I saw this, I think I was coming up to a junction, I saw it go ahead, and then I pulled out behind it, this thing. So I saw the side profile of the car on the back fleetingly, and I was like, I can't tell what that is. It looks like it's a small hatchback, and it's not modern. And then I pulled up behind this lorry, and we were at some traffic lights, but it got the tail, it's got built-in ramps, it got the ramps up, so I could only see a little bit of the car peeking through. It had, I swear, the grille from an MG Metro with the MG Octagon shape in the middle, but no badge. But I was like, that's not a Metro. I'm sure it's not a Metro. And it was driving me nuts. And so, although I was quite near my house, rather than just go home, I followed this fucking truck to try and get a better look at the car on the back of it. And I ended up going about 2 or 3 miles out of my way to try and see what the thing on the back of the truck was. I'm pretty certain it's a Nova. It was a Nova, which weirdly they'd crammed an MG Metro grille onto.
What?
And I still can't work out if it was I assume it was a banger because it had no glass, but it looked sort of scruffy. Well, no, kind of rumpled, but not smashed up.
You don't have any dash cam footage or anything like that, do you?
I don't. I took one photo of it when we were sitting at the lights. I'll put it on the Patreon.
Yeah.
But I still couldn't figure it out. And there was a point where we sort of stopped again at some lights, and we were there, and it was like the lights had just gone red. And I was like, I could jump out and go and have a look, maybe even talk to the driver of the truck. And there was a part of me wanted to do it, and a part of me just went, that's too strange. Whilst at this point having driven the wrong way
you're a man of principle
from my house.
You're a man of
Well, have you never done this where you've kept driving somewhere because you wanted to look at an interesting car or something?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I've done it several times. I bloody love it. In fact, I did it the other day because I was tipped off about a derelict Corrado. So I went a few miles out of my way just to see if this was indeed the case. Thank God for pin drops. And and sure enough, yeah. Interesting example of the mark, which I will investigate further with maybe some notes. I hasten to add, I put a note on the algal pin-in, Mitsubishi Shogun pin-in.
What?
The other week. I know, I plucked up enough courage. I did. I hand wrote a letter and I walked up to their definitely haunted looking house with no lights on.
Yes.
And put the note through and thought, it's a polite note, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm sort of a neighbour. Let's see what happens. Nothing's happened. It's been 4 weeks. Yeah.
What did you say? Please, may I buy your algal pin?
Yes, I said, dear sir / madam, I am a neighbour who lives just down the road and around the corner. I have seen your Mitsubishi parked here on your drive for many, many years, and I wondered if you would be interested in letting me buy it because I work at this is white lie, this next bit, because I work at a nearby farm and I would like a 4x4 vehicle, a reliable 4x4 vehicle, and it's a shame to see this one sitting here dilapidated or something. Here's my phone number. This is my address. I thought I'd be totally transparent. I give them my address in case they think I'm a scammer. And yeah, heard nothing. So, do you know what I'm going to do?
I don't know.
I'm going to do
knock on the door.
No, that's way too bold. I'm going to write exactly the same letter, and I'm going to put it through the door this Friday.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, that's just reminded me of. Should we mention the advert for that car that you sent me that you went, let's go on a road trip to buy it?
Oh, we could do. I mean, I'm not in a position to buy another car, but if you bought another car, that would be absolutely fine.
Well, I mean, I sort of don't need that particular car. It's, well, all right, so we might as well tell people. It's a Jag S-Type, V8.
Yeah.
Who saw this? A mate of yours saw this in a post office window or something?
A friend of mine called Oakley, who I actually bought my bargain Boxster off, my slightly ghetto Boxster. He found it and WhatsApped a picture, and it's an old school little postcard advert in the window of a newsagent or corner shop. And it's, well, I mean, who knows? Richard might have bought it by now. But yeah, it's a for sale with a photo. So someone's developed a photo. This is old school.
Oh, was it? I didn't notice that detail. It's a separate photo. They hadn't just like pasted it onto the thing.
No, it's a separate photo. I think it's an actual photograph.
Hang on. I'm going to find
a 2002 S-Type Jag V8 automatic.
Oh, here we go. Yes, you're right.
I mean, how old-fashioned and OAP spec is this? Old person's very neat writing in block caps.
Yeah.
AC, EW, CL, computer, not spelt right, tilt slide sunroof, electric.
Hang on. But wait, this is up in the northeast, right?
This is.
So they've written computer.
Oh, yes, they have.
With an A at the end. So that makes sense.
They have. And they've used a highlighter pen to highlight the words for sale at the top and the price. And the price is attractive, isn't it? Which is why I'm trying my best to not get lured into this bloody bargain.
The price is £650, and they've put after it. I like the fact they've put 650 and then a decimal point and 00 to make sure you do think, is it £650 and 49 pence or just no, it's 650 quid on the nose, and they've put oh no after it. So they're open to offers.
I absolutely love the ONO. The ONO really does. That lures me in even more. That's proper honey trapping for me.
Yeah.
Because it's already priced already.
You love to see it, don't you? It's like no offers just puts you off.
Yeah.
So you just go, come on,
it's too aggressive.
On. We know how the world works.
It's just
But oh no.
Do you know what I also like about it? Aside from the fact they've made a real effort to clean the car before taking the photo, and it does look like an excellent example of the mark, is the fact the sunroof is up for the photo.
Yes.
Did you
I
see
noticed that? Cocked. The sunroof is cocked.
It is
so
cocked.
you know either it's jammed or it's working. But I'm going to roll the dice to say it's working.
Oh, it's so exciting.
The reason I bring this up is because there's a black S-Type has appeared on a street I sometimes walk down with the dog. It's been slightly modified in that it's had the wheels sprayed black. It's a black car with black wheels, but then they've fitted red Jaguar badges to the middle of the wheels. And
Right. The Growler.
I've seen this car, the Growler. So it's got growlers on a red background, and it's got, I think, a little bit of a body kit on it. Not particularly to my taste, but you don't see S-Types all that often anymore. So I've seen it there a couple of times, and then I went past it yesterday in the car, and I couldn't help noticing that somebody has put a note or something under one of the wipers, but in a plastic wallet. It's not a ticket. You could see the holes. It's one of those A4 wallets folded over.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like,
DIY lamination.
Exactly. Is someone offering to buy that car, or is it a peevish neighbour going, please stop parking your car outside my house, or something like that? It's a street where everybody street parks because there aren't really many driveways. So I can't think it's that, because it's a free-for-all. So what does the note say?
You've got to go back.
But then what, go back and take the note and have a look at it and put it back?
They take a quick photo and say, I work for a really big deal of a podcast, and then take the photo, tuck it all back in, and then...
I'll just use your white lie and go, I've got a friend who works on a farm and he's looking for a lightly modified British saloon car to get to and from his farm, where he will then drive his... So, hang on. What are you actually going to do with a Shogun Pinin if they agree to sell it to you?
I'll teach the kids how to wade through lakes.
Oh, it's a field car.
Yeah,
it's going to be rotten as fruit underneath, though, surely.
No, I don't think it is. Because I don't think it's been on the actual road for so long. The top's more likely to be rotten than the bottom because it's been under that bloody tree and it's severely algal. But I do fancy it. It's just one of those things, Rich, I don't need it. I've never really wanted to buy a Shogun Pinin in my life, but because it's there, and it's like seeing a cat that might look a bit homeless and you need to constantly check on it.
Yeah.
I've got that going on in me. It's so annoying.
Is this, though... If you'd seen that car once when you were in an unfamiliar neighbourhood, you would have possibly mentioned it. I saw a really algal Mitsubishi Shogun Pinin. But because you keep seeing it, it's sort of some kind of variation on Stockholm Syndrome, surely.
That's exactly what it is. If nothing else, I would quite like to do some vigilante detailing on it. I'd really like to pull all the branches off it and all the bits of conifer and get rid of that lichen lichen algae and just see what it's like under there. I'm not getting too excited about it because I've seen a dog guard in the back and I've looked at the man who probably owns it and he smokes a pipe. So I'm guessing the inside of it's going to reek.
What if they just said, we need shot of that car, you can have it?
It's mine. It's happening. And it'll be on private property with a charged battery in it before you can say pin in my arse.
You'll clear your diary for a week to de-alkalize it.
Honestly, I will. No, I get my children on the case, but I would. I'd then sell the Civic that I've bought for them, which is too good to use as a field car. So,
oh yeah.
Remember, I've got that going on.
Hold on. What if the algae is the only thing that's holding it together?
Oh shit! Well, it's still good as a field car, isn't it? With a bit of gaffer tape, or I could even practice some welding around the window frames.
Structural gaffer.
Yeah, we've all been there. I miss field
hey,
cars. Gosh, field cars were such
look,
a rite of passage for us.
Secure the pin in,
Yeah.
and we'll use it to drive to the northeast to buy the S-Type.
Wow.
For
I'm not
as long as
for what, 50 quid or F off for the S-Type?
Well, no, I mean, can you see the reg in that picture? You can.
Yeah. Do you want me to look at the MOT
Right.
history?
Yes, I do. Keep talking while I do this, because
This could be the
what
make
if it's
or break.
absolutely clean as a whistle?
Well, it looks clean as a
terms of-
whistle, and that's why it's so damn.
I know, but
Do you know what? If we were young content creating YouTuber warriors, this would be our ultimate content. But that's maybe what we should do. If no one's bitten at that car for $650 or near offer,
all right. Okay, let me tell you first of all, the MOT, it has one, is valid until the 1st of May this year.
Okay, so
Shortish, but
enough to drive home.
I can tell you. First of all, it was MOT'd in May last year. The mileage at that point, 138,965.
Okay,
So,
not offensive.
not offensive. The following advisories. It passed, by the way.
Nice.
Rear coil spring corroded. Vehicle structure or chassis corroded within 30 centimetres of a mounting, but not seriously affecting overall security. That's all over, it says.
That's flake. So it's Seaside car.
It's crusty underneath by the sounds. It's got an oil leak, but not excessive, and one of the near side tyres is worn. This
is amazing.
So actually,
this is amazing podcasting experience. Audio.
It went for an MOT in February last year when it failed, and it sounds like it failed quite catastrophically because of excessive corrosion seriously affecting its strength within 30 centimetres of a cab mounting.
Right. Seatbelt mount or something like that.
Offside track rod end ball joint excessive play. Front tyres of different sizes fitted on twin wheels. I mean, that just speaks of sloppy ownership, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually. It does.
And a couple of warnings for excessively corroded brake pipes.
It's not so attractive unless we're talking the ONO is a big ONO.
And it failed. It failed in 2022 on, again, oh my God. The MOT history's all over the frigging shop. It failed in November 2022. Again, rust and the shock absorbers were knackered. And there was some suspension wear. And then
adult pamphlets strewn across the back seat and Nazi memorabilia on the dash or anything like that.
That's just an advisory. And then 2 months later, it was put in for an MOT. So basically, I think it was in the shop for 2 months getting fixed up. It had an MOT in January 23, passed. And then the following February, it failed again, mostly on rot. So I've gone off this idea now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me too.
It's a £650 S-Type for a reason, even if the sunroof does work.
Good donor, though. Potentially great donor.
Yeah.
Could be a wonderful donor.
I don't know for what, but yeah. Maybe so.
We've had a few people over recent time suggesting that Smith & Sniff should sponsor a roundabout. And I need to do some research into this because I don't know how you sponsor a roundabout. I've never inquired. And I also don't know how much it would cost.
I feel like it's one of those things that might be surprisingly easy.
You reckon?
Like I once discovered that theoretically buying an advert on the London Underground is quite cheap.
Really?
I think based on the fact that generally you're going to actually buy, 500 adverts.
Yeah.
And they don't sell them like one. Because I just thought it'd be amusing to call a mate of mine who got the tube every day a twat on a poster. But then I'd have to play the odds and actually get 500 to have a chance of him seeing it. Unless you do it on a platform. I think the platform ones are more expensive, obviously, because
they're bigger.
They're sort of there. But the ones on the train, the little rectangular ones on the ceiling of the carriage, then they're per unit. They're not very expensive at all. Well, they weren't.
Well,
so roundabouts.
I think we should investigate this further. Maybe a listener has experience of roundabout sponsorship. It has.
All right. Well,
I don't know which one
look at this.
we would sponsor.
Because this is the problem, isn't it? Because we live quite far from each other. So it's like, where would we'd have to do it somewhere, probably near Baldock Services. There is a roundabout there, isn't there?
There is, outside the services. Yeah.
I just typed into Google, how do you sponsor a roundabout? And it's come up with West Sussex Council.
What?
And it says you can sponsor a roundabout. Before sponsoring a roundabout, you'll need to consider the following. Are you happy to undertake sponsorship and convey a positive message for your business? I mean, yeah. I'm not going to say, listen to Smith and Sniff, it's shit. That would be counterproductive. Do you want the responsibility of maintaining the site or allow the ongoing maintenance to remain with West Sussex County Council? There's no price list. The cost of sponsorship is subject to the size, location and traffic flow in the area. The pricing includes the provision of posts and installation of all signs. Whoa, you don't even have to do it yourself. That's great.
That's brilliant. So we could have some
But it doesn't give any
interesting
prices.
Could we put could you put a car on there, or could we have a statue made by somebody that was a representation of a vehicle?
I don't know. That probably costs more, doesn't it? But
Like a
hang on.
plinth.
Oh, hello. Look, no, this is up your street.
What?
Somerset Council.
Oh, nice. That's near you too now.
Yeah.
So you could keep an eye on it for me and mow it periodically.
Oh, okay. They've got a price here
Okay.
from,
Yeah.
prices start from £1,500 a year.
£1,500 a year. Okay.
Yes, or just 2.5 rusty S-type Jags. Asterisk. Please do not actually put S-type Jags on our roundabout.
I was about to say, why don't we buy the S-Type Jag up north, drive it down to Somerset, mount it on a plinth on a roundabout, and then sponsor that roundabout? Can we not do that?
Right. Smith and Sniff down the sides.
Yeah.
But realise we've not left enough space, and it'll say on one side, it'll say Smith and Sneer, and then we'll just dump it on the roundabout, and Bob's your uncle.
Well, hang on
actually,
a
Bob's
minute.
your dad, isn't he? But that's
Bob's my
that's,
dad.
by the by. Yeah, but he can go down and check on it every so often.
My dad will
'cause
drive
it's
the
in
S-Type
Somerset.
down. He'd drive the S-Type down for its to end its life as we know it.
Have you told people about how your dad drove your 2CV?
I think I forgot. I think I was going to in one of the last podcasts and just keep forgetting because we're so professional in this game. Yeah, my dad did drive the 2CV back from the 2CV shop up to me here in Lincolnshire. I specifically said to him, go on some really relaxing roads. And he went, yeah, I'll go on the Foss Way. I said, yes, great idea. Go on the Foss Way. It'll be more relaxing. Yes. But start early because then you'll have the whole day. You can stop for a leisurely lunch. You can stop for multiple coffees and wees and all those things. Well, he didn't start early. He started at midday, I think. And that meant it got dark early. And that meant relying on yellow, silly French headlights. And then the rain came. And that meant relying on spindly little piano wire windscreen wipers. So it was an interesting trip for him. He was very jolly about it, bless him. And Dad, I am appreciative of you doing it.
This is why Bob's a legend, because he did that without flinching. How long did it take him?
It took him 7 hours, I think it did.
Oh,
It did. I don't know why. I mean, my brother was like, how has it taken Dad this long to drive this distance? What has he been doing? Has he stopped at every garden centre? What the hell has happened? I don't know. But yeah, he got there in the end. And we had one little breakdown 20 miles outside of Leicester. And I got the car going again. But yeah, it's up here now.
I think your brother's being a little unfair because how many horsepower has that car got?
Oh, it's the highest horsepower. Is it 28 or 26?
So it's not overpowered.
No,
Although-
no, it's not overpowered. No.
In fairness, when I followed your 2CV to our live show at the Pistonheads meeting at the Haynes Museum, and it was being driven by Darren from the 2CV shop. Actually, no, it's being driven by Darren's son. Darren was in the passenger seat. So you got two full-grown men in the car, but two men who know 2CVs, and they were not hanging around. I was staggered at how they were hustling that car across the countryside.
I believe it was impressive helmsmanship.
It was really impressive.
Yeah.
Really impressive. But you know that they do 2CVs, they understand 2CVs, and your dad can be forgiven for not being totally sort of hooked into the never lift, never brake mentality of 2CV driving.
Yes, I'm looking forward to actually using it come spring with off of the top down and all that stuff.
That'd be right nice. I was going to mention I went over to Darren's place at the 2CV shop the other day and drove his Honda Beat, and it did not disappoint. Talking of slow but hilariously funny cars, it was brilliant. He wants me to buy it, so that's an interesting dilemma. But we'll come back to that one another time. We should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, just say sorry, I can't. I've just bought a really crusty Jaguar up north.
got to spend all the money having welding done on this Jag I don't need or particularly want. Anyway. For now, let's bring this into land. Before we do,
sure.
I've got 3 things to tell you. They are, first of all, Johnny has a new project on the go. It's since Amazon took full creative control of the Bond franchise, he's been lobbying them to remake a Brian Cox-based challenge show spin-off with more focus on contestants winning a weird 80s prog rock band under the working title 007 Road to Marillion. If that's not to your taste, then of course, The Late Break Show, giving away a car.
Yeah, we are. We are giving away a car. So yeah, that last week's barn find was a 2,000-mile-old one-owner Volkswagen Bora 16-valve 1.6 in very sensible spec of a sensible car, I hasten to add, but an extremely well-survived example of the mark. And I'm going to be giving it away to someone at the end of this month. So you watch the video and follow the instructions, and your name will be in the hat in the virtual tombola. And I'm looking forward to the response has been brilliant. I think we've had 4,000 entries already.
Really?
Yeah, really. Hardly any comments about why would I want that piece of shit or anything like that. There's not many of those, which I'm really glad about, because no, it's not a bona fide classic, but it's a worshipful survivor. Now that's almost delivery mileage. So that's that. And then the video that's just come out this weekend will be a very, very, very aspirational car cave garage tour. I would watch that one. Ooh. There's some sweet machinery in that one, including some motorsport vehicles from the 90s.
Oh, I'll watch that. Second thing I've got to tell you is I have various books out. One of them is Boring Car Trivia 4, which came out last year or the year before, can't remember. Anyway, packed full of arcane information about cars, if you like that sort of thing. Go and buy it now on Amazon as an ebook or a paperback. And the third thing I've got to tell you is that Mama Cass, out of the Mamas and Papas, died in London in 1974. But weirdly, Keith Moon, out of The Who, died in the same London apartment, but not at the same time.
Really?
Weirdly, yes.
I wonder who owns that apartment now.
It was owned by Harry Nilsson.
Ah, right. And he was a known party person, wasn't he?
He owned a flat in London, but he didn't live there very often because he was touring. So I think he used to rent it out or just let mates stay there. And Mama Cass died there in 1974, and then Keith Moon died there in 1978. So quite grisly.
I was going to say not the sort of place I would probably go and hang out at after people dying multiple times. No, I think that's the thing. Probably after that, Harry Nilsson struggled to have people over. But Airbnb.
Anyway, if only he'd had a rusty S-type Jag to ferry them to the station in. And on that slightly downbeat note, that's it from us, but we'll do this all again next week. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon, what wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise, we've mugs and hats but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
I was going to say something profound, but nothing came out.